Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. Mass migration, it has evolved into a formidable political weapon wielded against the United States to destabilize the country by both domestic and foreign elites. America is under attack. That's what New York Times bestselling author Peter Schweizer is arguing in his new book, and he is here to tell us all about it. Joining me now, the president of the Government Accountability Institute and the author of the recently released The Invisible Coup: How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. Peter Schweizer is here with us. Peter, great to see you, and congratulations on the book. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago, that we tend to only look at the micro issues when it comes to immigration, not the macro ones. And in the book, you tackle perhaps one of the biggest macro issues: who is sending millions of people here and why? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we've been having a very important national debate in this country about immigration, and that conversation's mostly been about, its effect on jobs and wages, how it might affect crime on our streets, maybe some discussion about our culture. And that's all a good conversation to have, but what we're ignoring is the weaponization of immigration. And what do I mean by that? I mean foreign actors and some people domestically who see immigration as a tool or a weapon to accomplish very specific ends. And they tell us what those ends are. Those ends are the diminishing of American civilization, the advancement of their political networks within the United States, their desire to sow chaos within our country. This includes neighbors like Mexico, but also rivals like China and domestic progressive elites who gain a political advantage from it.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mexico, Peter. President Sheinbaum's administration, from our own reporting, appears to now be working more closely with our law enforcement and our military to stop the flow of drugs and people into the United States. But you pose in the book that Mexico's consulates are running a shadow campaign to sway U.S. elections. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, look, there's only certain things that Claudia Sheinbaum is going to be able to do with regards to the drug cartels because she is connected to the drug cartels, and I provide that evidence in the book. When it comes to Mexico's infrastructure in the United States, it's vast. The UK and China have 6 and 7 consulates in the U.S. Mexico has 53, and they are meddling in our domestic politics. They are part of, according to officials themselves say, they are part of the civil resistance to the Trump administration. They've held meetings in their consulates about how to turn states from red to blue. And they also have sovereignty goals as it relates to the United States. Let me just read you one quote. I could read you dozens from how they actually look at mass migration. This is from a December 2024 report written by one of Sheinbaum's top aides. Quote, "We already know that the Mexican population in the United States reaches 39.9 million. We Mexicans are reclaiming our territory." So they view this as an opportunity to extend what they call Greater Mexico into the United States, and they intend to use that for their political benefit and to our detriment.
One of the things that's always so great about your books, and I know you've written a number of them, is they're very, very well researched. And I always appreciate the detail that you go into in the pages of the books. As you mentioned, it's not just about Mexico, it's also about communist China. And you write about thousands of Chinese pilots that are being sent to the United States for training, and 1 million Chinese that may soon be voting in U.S. elections. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, their exploitation of our immigration laws is more sophisticated than Mexico's. When it comes to the issue of birthright citizenship, this is the notion that the 14th Amendment says anybody who's born here should be granted automatic U.S. citizenship. We don't really know the scale of this in the United States. Our federal government does not keep any of this information, and people just don't really know what the numbers are. Well, China has looked at this. China's encouraged this. Beginning in 2011, they were running articles in the People's Daily, the CCP's main newspaper, encouraging members of the elite to come to the United States because their child could get U.S. citizenship. And the Chinese government has looked at how many Chinese have followed their suggestion, And the numbers are mind-boggling. The Chinese government and Chinese private research firms estimate that roughly 100,000 Chinese nationals have done this a year over the course of the last 13 years. So we're looking at 1 million Chinese who were born in the United States. In other words, their parents flew here as birth tourists. They gave birth here. When the child was ready to travel back to China, the parents took them back to China, raised them there. But because they happen to have been born here, when they turn 18, they're going to have the right to vote, even though they live in China. They're going to have the right to contribute to political campaigns. They're going to have the right to apply for government jobs. It's a massive, massive security vulnerability when you consider that the 2016 election was settled by 72,000 votes, not 1 million. Then the issue of pilots. We learned with the problem with flight schools with 9/11, terrorists were learning to fly them into buildings. We are now training thousands of Chinese pilots in the United States, some of whom will be flying in the PLA Air Force, facing off against our pilots, which I think is just an absolute absurd thing that we're doing.
Peter, you know, the book makes the case that so much damage has already been done. What do we do about this? And I don't have a lot of time, so just quickly, give us one thing we can hang our hat on and say, okay, this is something that we need to do.
Well, we need to deal with birthright citizenship. People may have this lazy idea that people happen to be here when they're born and they're not worried about it. China's carrying it out on an industrial scale, so that needs to end. Number two, we shouldn't be training pilots. Number three, we need to dismantle Mexico's political network inside the United States. I go into detail in the book, the extent of it. Those are three things we could do right away that would make a huge difference.
The book is The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. Pick it up. Peter Schweizer, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.